Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw. I'm here with a familiar face for those of you who watch our videos. It's Matthew Upchurch, who's chairman and CEO of Virtuoso. And we're here at Virtuoso Travel Week in Las Vegas. I've been here for many times. I think, Matthew, you've been here a few times too. I don't know what.
31 years in a row.
31 years in a row. Boy, so we're kind of veterans of this. We're going to find out all about some concepts that Matthew introduced in his speech. And this is Insider Travel Report. Matthew, first of all, let's just, the role of a travel advisor seems to be changing. Talk a little bit about what that is today. It's a big topic, I know, but in your view, what are travel advisors today that may be different from what they were in the past?
Well, I've said for a long time that I think that in general, if an advisor says they're in the business of booking travel, they've almost lost before they started. There are literally hundreds of ways that are being reinvented every day to book travel. I think booking travel, there's a lot of complexity in it. You can do a really good job, but I think that it's the entire value proposition of what do you do before the trip, during the trip, and after the trip. And so that's really important, and being very clear in the way you present that value proposition and how you deliver it consistently. The other piece that I think is really important, and I've felt it this year more than ever. We had Dr. Brene Brown here, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and people said, why do you have a PhD in social work? Talking to us travel agents and travel people. And it was because something that she said that I've used a slide of in many of my presentations. She said, as technology becomes more and more ubiquitous and more part of our everyday lives, we will not only seek out, but we will crave authentic human connection. That is becoming a little bit of a big part of the differentiator. People are overwhelmed, they have so much stuff to do, and that human connection that makes it so that it's you look forward to talking to your advisor. You've got somebody, I put up one of my slides, I said, care is the antidote to worry. And I think that people can really feel that, having insight. And that doesn't mean that we don't, as advisors, leverage technology, but that the difference between us is the quality of our interactions, our insight, our ability to inspire clients, and then the quality of our own personal networks, right? In other words, that's the whole point of Virtuoso Travel Week, is these literally 278,000 appointments, 1.4 million minutes of meetings, which is 2.7 years, is all about the fact that if I met you, even if it's for 4 minutes, something happens. There's something happens when I send somebody to somebody that I've met. So that human connection, that human touch, that human interface is absolutely one of the most important things to actually fight commoditization, by the way. Because that human interface is actually what allows there to be nuance, but not just nuance in facts, nuance in emotion and in perspective.
Well, something you also talked about was the changing relationship between travel advisors and their customers, and between travel advisors and suppliers, and also the relationship between all three. How is that changing then?
Well, I think that the relationship amongst the advisor and their client is much more holistic, right? Much more overall. That's what I kind of meant. What is the larger value proposition? I think one of the biggest challenges in our profession is that a lot of fabulous advisors do a fabulous job, but in a very visual, digital world, we have the same problem that good luxury products have. You don't fully understand it until you experience it. So I think that being able to understand and be able to get across what the value proposition is and how it makes a difference is difficult. I also think that in travel advising, I think that the idea of longer term planning is becoming essential. Again, something that a lot of advisors have been doing organically and naturally for a long time, but bringing a little more discipline to it, the tools that help you make it more fun, more scalable, and that adds a different dimension, because it's not just about, well, I'm here to book your next trip, or I'm here to give you great advice and I have expert knowledge, but now it's like, how do I help you meet those unmet needs?
Well, and in fact, we have the human connection behind
Yeah,
us.
right,
And I mean, that seems to me, we heard from Chip Conley, who used to be with Joie de Vivre, and he's told us that Airbnb wants to be the curator of travel. And so how do we, basically compete against that? And I guess the question is, with all these people with their algorithms and their artificial intelligence, is it the human connection? What is it that is the advantage that travel advisors will continue to have?
Well, I think the advantage, that's why I said your personality.
Right.
I talked about the fact that success today in any kind of advisory business, by the way, not just in travel, in any advisory business, today, success is a combination of competency and chemistry. And therefore, feeling of trust, feeling of care. Your personality should be front and center. Don't water it down. Deepen your conversations. We also live in a world where, answers are free. When's the last time you asked Google a question and said, I don't know? So the reality is that actually supposed answers are free, but really good questions are very valuable today. And if you think about another profession that's flourishing, one of the fastest growing professions in the world is life coaching. And if you talk to anybody that's been trained as a life coach, they say, my entire job is just asking the right questions. Right? And I think that's a very important part of the evolution of our business.
Now, the other concept you introduced, I think, or you talked about in one of your addresses at the general session was, we've always heard about the concept of high tech, using high tech, high touch, and then you introduced another third thing, high team. Now, what is that concept?
Well, actually, I want to give credit where credit is due. Actually, our keynote speaker, Chip Conley, was not only the founder of Joie de Vivre, he was the chief hospitality and strategy officer at Airbnb.
Right.
So he wrote this awesome book called Wisdom at Work, The Making of the Modern Elder, about what it was like to be 52 years old and go work for Brian Chesky at Airbnb, who was half his age, and so was everybody else that worked there. So he was the one that basically talked about, high tech. But when we describe what the Virtuoso Network does, he was the one that says, oh, you're not only high touch, you're high team. And that's what I mean. It's the quality of our relationships and the way we all come together, right, to serve the client, to help each other, to share. One of the things I'm the most proud of this network is that whole idea that the people in this network truly believe that there's more to be gained by sharing than there is to keep into yourself. So, I talked about the fact that we just opened up our office in Shanghai, and we've gone from 9 to 23 members in China in 1 year, and just seeing a brand new set of members and how well they are already sharing and coming up with ideas. Virtuoso's always been a co-creation organization.
Now, the last thing I wanted to ask you about was you actually have some technology and a new tool. I think you called it sort of a travel anticipation tool that you introduced here that actually is part of the theme of the conference, which is what's on your Wanderlist. And this new tool, this is called Wanderlist. And we have chatted about that in the past, but this was sort of the big reveal here. Talk a little bit about how that addresses the things we've been talking about and how it is leading to more human connection.
Well, again, what I love about this digital platform is that it's really not a technology that's out there to replace the human connection. It's actually there to enhance it. So it basically is a digital platform you can use on your phone, on your TV, on your everywhere else. It kind of looks a little bit like Netflix, super simple. And it has destinations around the world and has experiences. And the youngest person to use the platform so far is 6 years old. The oldest person to use it is 86 years old. After the individual person, whether it's a family, everybody does it separately. You curate what's on your Wanderlist, where I want to go. And then the advisor has a dashboard in the back that basically helps take all that information, see where the commonalities are, do all this stuff, and then it engenders a greater conversation with the client. One of the things that I like is that not only does it engender a better conversation with the advisor and the client, we're getting reports. I'll give you an example. We had somebody that was a family, a couple and 2 daughters, and they're in the travel business. It was a beta test. And the person who is the head of marketing of one of our members said, you would think that because I travel all the time and I'm in the travel business, that I would have known that everyone in my family wanted to go to Hawaii. but we didn't. I actually had always assumed my husband would not want to take that flight. And by the way, they just got back from their spring break in Hawaii. But then there was this very touching story about how her 11-year-old daughter chose Japan, and then said, well, why Japan? And they talked about the culture, this. And then the little girl says, and Mommy, when we go to Japan, by the way, I love that. Not if we go to Japan, but when we go to Japan, you have to promise me that we'll go to Hiroshima because I want to go say, I'm sorry what happened to those people. Though
A lot of self-awareness by that child.
well, the richness of those, the richness of those conversations, because that family is utilizing this tool. So I'm very excited about the potential of how this takes what a lot of good advisors do, which is they're never booking one trip at a time. They're kind of planting seeds, and makes it much more fun, digital, experiential, and then much more actionable.
Right. Well, Matthew, thank you very much for taking the time. We're going to have one more segment talking about this show as a whole and where Virtuoso is headed, but it's been a great show. I always enjoy coming here and seeing how it's grown, and you and I have been doing these for a while, and in fact, I think hopefully I'll be in Vienna to see the 20-year anniversary of the name of Virtuoso, which you rebranded years ago. But thank you very much again for hosting me here, and it's been great to see you.
Thank you, Jim.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.